What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new to the channel, my name is AkeemHaynes. I'm a two-time Olympian, Olympic bronze medalist, author, motivational speaker, and sports commentator. On my channel, we talk boxing, MMA, track and field, and of course, motivation and encouraging content. If this is something that you enjoy, then I hope that you subscribe to the channel. Now, let's get into the video. So we had an interesting night of boxing, interesting fights, and we are going to get into all of them in the recap. So rather than doing them individually, I figured I'd just combine all of the fights that we covered last week and put it together just to save a little bit of time. And as always, I would love to hear your thoughts about the fight in the comment section below. Also, who would you like to see these guys fight next? Definitely let me know in the comment section below, but let's get into it. Let's start with Austin Ammo Williams versus Kieron Conway. What did we think about this fight, right? I thought this was a good quality win for Williams against a quality opponent in Conway. Early on, it was very competitive, I felt like. Going into the fifth round, I had it even about 2 apiece. I thought Ammo started aggressively pushing the pace of the fight. Conway was moving well, but managed to have moments countering Williams and slowing down the pace going into the second half of the fight. Now, Ammo, to me, looked a little tired in the 5th and the 6th round. It almost looked like the momentum was finally swinging into Conway's favor. The experience that Conway has had in the past, I felt like in the second half, that was going to be his best time to showcase that, because he had been in those championship rounds much more than Ammo Williams had. But I thought Ammo Williams finished strong. Even though he was aggressive early in the fight, he was a lot more patient than I thought that he was going to be. You know, just based on some of the mannerisms that I was seeing in the weigh-ins and some of the other conversations that I was seeing, I felt like he was really going to try to go all out at the beginning and just start swinging for the hills. But he came in very composed, used the jab. He was aggressive still, but it was a controlled aggressiveness. He was trying to break him down round by round, but the movement that Conway has and the footwork and just the technical ability that Conway had made it a little bit harder for Williams to be able to get the shots that he wanted to. But I thought the difference in this one was the speed and the power and just the straight athleticism, I think, were the difference in this one. Not that it was an overwhelming amount of power or overwhelming amount of speed, but you could definitely see the levels of athleticism in this fight, at least for me. This was also a fight where I thought Ammo Williams needed a tough tactical fight, that we needed to see some adjustments, some adaptations, and to just see him get some of those championship rounds in, right? It's great to see knockouts, but for a fighter's development, you're not always going to knock everybody out. The higher that you go up and the quality starts to increase, you want to see them make some adjustments. You want to see a different approach. You want to see how they are going to handle it going into fights where they might not have their way. Again, I thought it was a good tactical fight against someone who is experienced like Conway, who's slick like Conway, with the footwork that Conway had. And it's always one of those questions, right? Can you still find a way to win when your original plan does not go according to plan? Can you adapt? Can you adjust and find a way to still get the win? And I thought Ammo Williams did just that. I picked this one to go the distance, and a lot of people were saying, no, man, Ammo is going to knock him out completely. But I just felt like Conway's experience was going to be a little bit more trouble for Ammo Williams as far as taking longer times to figuring out what type of style that he was fighting inside that ring. So I thought it was a good win for Ammo Williams nonetheless. I thought it was a great effort from Conway, but it just wasn't his night. Ammo Williams, it was a good performance. Let's move up the card. Let's talk about Ali Akhmedov and Gavriel Rosado. Not too much really to say in this one too much, right? I did have Akhmedov winning this one by KO. I thought he actually could have done that if he wasn't as disciplined. Obviously, we know what Gabe wants to do. He wants to lure you into the fight. He wants you to let your guard down, kind of play possum a little bit. And then when you are less responsible, that overhand right comes and he times you perfectly and you are laid out. But I thought Akhmedov was very disciplined in his approach. But I thought Akhmedov boxed beautifully. He took his time, didn't overcommit, picked his spots, slipped in, landed his shots, slipped out, and covered up nicely not to get himself in trouble. Obviously, we know Akhmedov is the younger guy, but he's also the more talented guy and just better across the board. Even if Gabe was in his boxing prime, I think this outcome would have still been the same. As much as I respect Gabe, man, he just looks a few steps behind in this fight and in the last fight against Shane Mosley Jr. He just looks slow. Doesn't look like his usual self. The movement is not there. The power is not there as much. The thing with Gabe for me is this, right? He has a fighting spirit. He's not going to wow you with his boxing skill. He's going to make you work to beat him. He's going to test you. He's going to challenge you. He is coming to fight, and that's what he wants to make it, a fight, a brawl, right? He's got that spirit about him. He's a tough warrior. But even warriors know when to retreat and when to fall back. So respect to Gabe, but this isn't the performance that we want to see him continue to put out. I think he needs to take a step back and reevaluate if he really wants to continue to do this moving forward, because this type of punishment is definitely not needed. But I thought it was a very good boxing matchup for Ali Akhmedov. Good win for him. Now let's talk about Jesse Rodgriguez and Israel Gonzalez. Honestly, at the beginning of this fight, man, it was two things for me, right? Bam did not look interested in the fight. Looked like he was going through the motions because he signed the contract and he had to be there because his team wanted him to be, but he didn't want to be there. And I get that, right? The mannerisms, I just didn't get the feeling that he wanted to be there. He's been in the ring a lot this year, right? No disrespect to Gonzalez, but it's hard to get up for certain fights at times. After you just fought a big matchup against one of the biggest punchers and you know you had to be on your P's and Q's against Siskaret Sarungvisai, and then to fight someone like Israel Gonzalez, who isn't as dangerous as Sarungvisai, I can understand why maybe the energy and mentally where it needed to be as well. I thought we saw a few Bam-like moments throughout the fight, and he turned it up later in the rounds when he probably realized, man, this is much closer than I thought. But, you know, the angles and the footwork and the speed and the punching power, like we didn't really see as much of that on display until later in the fight, where he started to increase the work rate and started to really sit down on his punches. I thought it was a good learning experience as well. Sometimes you got to win an ugly fight. Sometimes you just got to get the job done. And he was able to do that. Every fight isn't going to be an electrifying one. Like I remember throughout my years running track and field, I might have a span of like 3, 4, 5 great races where it's quality, I'm running well, moving well. And then I may have 1 or 2 that are a little bit lackluster and not the one that I'm used to, right? But then I would have another 3 to 4 great races as well too. So every fight is not going to be a good one. Perhaps Bam was a little bit tired, right? Again, to me, it just looked like he didn't want to be there, but you're not always going to have those electrifying fights, but you still have to find a way to win. However, no discrediting Israel Gonzalez, man, he was not having that. He came in to win, and I thought he looked good. He let his hands go. He stayed right next to Bam, didn't let him out of his sight, tried to cut off his footwork, tried to cut off the angles. Even if his shots didn't hit cleanly, he was still letting the hands fly, just trying to touch him from different angles and different spots. Gonzalez is relentless. He's not easy to go away. Maybe if it was someone else other than Bam, then maybe he would have gotten the win. Maybe he might even edged out that win on points if it was somebody else. I thought he fought well. He had good moments and his work rate was good, and that kept him in the fight. I thought he showed a great effort. I thought he gave it all that he could. But to me, I just thought while Gonzalez fought a very good fight, he was up for the occasion. He was trying to spoil the night. To me, I just thought Bam made it a lot harder for himself. Maybe he was just overlooking Gonzalez and really didn't get excited and really didn't get the energy for the fight. Not the best performance from Bam that we've seen, but it will help him down the road. Finding different ways to win fights is something that you have to do, especially at this level where you cannot take any opponent for granted. Now, let's get to the main card. Let's talk about Canelo Alvarez and Gennadiy Golovkin. So I was doing a live show with a couple other boxing channels, a couple other guys. Mo Boxing, Mo Problem was the one that hosted it. Shout out to my man. You should definitely go check out his channel as well. And we were talking about this fight, right? And we were breaking it down. And I had a thought. I said, you know what? I said, what if, right, Canelo goes into this fight and he completely dominates the fight from start to finish, right? Because everybody was talking about it could be a back and forth thing, was going to be competitive. It could go many different ways, many different scenarios. But I said, man, what if Triple G comes into this fight and he just doesn't have anything? And Canelo completely washes him from start to finish. I said, what happens if Triple G comes and the punching is not there? He doesn't let his hands go. The footwork is a lot slower. It takes him longer to recover. Like, what happens if he comes out and he does not look good at all? And it just so happened that this is exactly what we saw, man. Triple G did not look good in this fight. For the first 5 rounds, it was 5-0 Canelo. Triple G wasn't letting his hands go. He just seemed like he was, you know, there's always a look that every person has and the mannerisms, and you carry yourself with a certain amount of belief in yourself and your ability, and it just didn't look like Triple G had that feeling, and his mannerisms, it just looked like he was trying to survive the 12. I don't know what the situation was, only they know, but to me, man, this was a very completely one-sided fight. And to be honest, I don't even think Canelo really went that hard. I thought Canelo played it pretty safe. I don't think Canelo took much risk. I thought he did what he needed to do to win the fight, right? And you could see the age of Triple G was starting to show again, you know, and even Canelo too, he looked a little bit gassed. As we know, Canelo doesn't fight 12 rounds with the same amount of energy. He takes certain times off, certain rounds off. And even in this one, the rounds that Canelo took off, I still gave it to Canelo, right? So Triple G just did not look good. He did not look like himself. He did not look like himself. He looked worse than when he fought Murata, right? So maybe this was just one of those ones, right, where you look and you see, man, Triple G, you have a decision to make moving forward. I know he wants to go and wants to fight more and continue to defend his title at 160, but he just did not look good to me in this fight. And perhaps maybe something happened with the weight gain and trying to get up there to fight Canelo. I don't know what the situation was, but he looked a lot worse than when he fought Murata. At least when he fought Murata, he let his hands go and he looked confident. But in this one, he just did not look, it seemed like he just bowed down to Canelo, not in the sense of kneeling or anything, but in the sense of, man, you know what? I don't have enough to keep up with this guy. I would have just liked to seen a better effort. I know he went to training camp. I know he did this work. I know he put the work in. I know he was ready for this fight. But when the fight started, you know, Canelo really just seized control of this fight from start to finish. I didn't think it was a very good performance from Canelo. I thought it was a good workman-like fight for Canelo. He did what he needed to do. And the question is, did the trilogy live up to the hype? No, it was a one-sided fight. I don't think it was an electrifying fight. You know, I was watching some of the social media stuff and people were saying, man, this is a boring fight, right? So I could see both ends of the spectrum of it, right? But nonetheless, both of these men should be respected. They're both quality fighters. But this fight probably should have happened 3 to 4 to 5 years ago. At 40, this Triple G is not the version that is really going to test those elite fighters, I don't think. I think this version of Triple G is going to take a lot of punishment, and I don't think this is the Triple G that is going to win much more fights at this level. Thought it was a good win for Canelo, not his best performance, but he's going to go off and get some rest. It was a good mental win for him. He needed the win after coming off a loss against fighting Dimitri Bivol. So it was a good win for Canelo. What were your thoughts on all of these fights? Let me know in the comments section below. Who would you like to see Canelo fight next? Yes, we all probably thinking we would love to see Canelo fight David Benavidez next, but who would you like to see Triple G fight next? Do you even want to see Triple G in the ring with next? Let me know your thoughts of the fight this weekend. Let me know in the comments section below. If you would like to support the channel, there's a couple ways you can do so. You can like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you'd like to support by way of donation, you can find options in the description below. If you would like to follow me on social media, you can find my social handles on screen as well. So with all that being said, if you've been watching the video this long, then do me a favor and subscribe to the channel, and we'll definitely see you next time.